Hey, everybody, welcome to a special Monday edition of No Vacancy. We're going to call it Not So Live.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody, welcome to a special edition of No Vacancy Live California edition. That's right. Today we're going to be focusing on California. Why? I'll tell you why. Because California's got one of the biggest economies in all of the world. I think it's number 8, but our guest today will clear that little mess up. We're at the ALIS, America's Lodging Investment Summit Conference right now, as you're watching this, but as we were recording it, it's a couple of days beforehand. So I got a great guest. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk about the California hotel market and the great event that I'm going to be at called Click Connect. I think you all know who this individual is. Might just be my Friday Night Audit co-host, Mr. Craig Sullivan. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Glenn. Thank you for having me on the show. This is
all right. A couple of rules for this show. We're unfortunately no drinking and not allowed to be funny at all because it's not Friday Night Audit. I don't want people to get the wrong idea about the type of content we're up to over here. So be very serious.
Serious face now.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, you're scaring me, Greg. So I have a feeling right now, as this show is airing, you and I are hanging out in the courtyard behind LA Live, talking to everybody out there because it's going to be a beautiful California day. I'm looking forward to being there, and I'm curious to what you think we're going to see when we're over at that event. My guess is I'm going to be hearing these two words a lot. Can you guess what they are? Cautious optimism. What are you thinking, brother?
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of it. I also think that California, the last time I checked, had the 6th largest global economy.
Oh my gosh, it's growing.
Well, that's where it was prior to the pandemic. So,
right.
Whether it dropped a notch or two post, I don't know, but I'm going to go with 6.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, their word on the street is a lot of people are moving out of California. But if you look at the size of the population of California versus other states, they actually have a lower percentage of human beings moving out of the state than pretty much any other state in the country. So don't believe everything you see on those TV
yeah, I mean, you're right. There's two sides of that story. And, I've got to tell you, there are probably, and I would bet $1 on this, that there are more people moving from Tupelo, Mississippi to Los Angeles than vice versa. It is the tale of two stories. And unfortunately, only one gets out there in the media.
Right.
But, having the 6th largest global economy, having, multiple theme parks and thousands upon thousands of miles of beautiful coastline, and it's a tourist destination. I mean, California, hospitality, travel, and tourism are a huge part of the economic engine of the state. And I think you're right. Getting back to ALIS, one of the premier conferences in our industry, I think guarded optimism is going to be part of it.
Right. It's also my second favorite conference in California, by the way. Of course, California Lodging Investment Conference is #1. Please continue.
Thank you. But I think, it's going to be good. This has always been my opportunity when I'm at ALIS to rework my business plan, depending on what I'm hearing from the leaders of our industry. I think, Bruce Ford always does a great job on the construction pipeline, and he'll be updating that at Click 6 in March. But I think right now you got to really look at not only the cost of building a new hotel or a deep renovation and repositioning it, but that cost of funds. And what is your lender going to do? If you're getting 50% loan to cost on a construction loan, there's a gap there. Plus, you've probably got a double-digit interest rate now as well.
Right.
So, does it really make sense to start construction, or are you better off acquiring assets to reposition, possibly scrape, and do a dual-branded hotel once the economy is settled down and we figure out, what's going on with the debt markets
Right.
and also what's happening in Washington, D.C., which is going to have a big impact on what's going on.
So as complicated as it seems 2023 is going to be, it being that we all went through 2020 and 2021, I don't think that the headwinds are anything like what we have seen previously. Because after all, nobody budgeted for zero occupancy over there in April of 2020, for example. So things are doing much better, and the fundamentals on the customer side of the business seem to have not just come roaring back, but have proven to be spectacular. In fact, the last week of the year, Craig, according to STR statistics out there, it was the highest demand ever in the hospitality industry. Not in 2023, not in 2019, ever.
Yeah.
So that's exciting on one side. But the development side is, I think, what we're going to be experiencing at ALIS, and the conversation will continue, of course, at the California Lodging Investment Conference. How do you think it's going to go this week as we are in LA for the ALIS conference?
Well, I think the brands have got a lot to say. We are back in a cycle of new flags being launched.
Spark from Hilton. I'll be doing an interview with them, for example, and make sure on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week to tune into all of our short form content, that interview included. Please continue.
And you've also got our friends over at Red Roof that have launched a new prototype for a dual branded asset.
Yeah,
those properties still make a lot of sense. The economies of scale there work on a great level. And, I think, we really need to pay attention to what the lenders are saying, because at the end of the day, they've got all the gold, they've got the keys. Let's hear what they have to say. And that's really my biggest concern is what's the cost of funds going to be?
Right.
How are you going to put that capital stack together where it makes sense? I think there's some great alternatives to some of the bridge financing, but you've also got some really good bridge lenders out there that are going to work with you. So I think there's going to be, quite a discussion on the finance side of everything. And, we've got our share of labor problems. I'm sure that's going to be one of the top 5 conversations at ALIS. It's certainly going to be a top conversation at Click 6. So let's see what we do with labor.
I think we need a comprehensive immigration reform in order to be able to continue to have new workers come into the hospitality industry to take all of those jobs that you all out there can't seem to fill now. And if you all want to be selfish for a second, new immigrants to the country will work for less than people who are born here in the United States. That's a fact, I would say.
That's a fact. But you know what? Both political parties are guilty of not having,
absolutely,
the effort to put together a plan. They would rather complain and point fingers at one another. And there's enough blame to go around.
Hey, listen, man, it's all your fault. You're from California. That's all I have to say. You're absolutely right. And unfortunately, we're both old enough to remember when Ronald Reagan in the mid 1980s gave every single illegal immigrant the free pass on that, and they were supposed to fix it then. Right. And now, flash forward nearly 40 years later, give or take a year, depending on when that happened. I think it was like 84, 85. I think it was too. I'll tell you, it's crazy that we still haven't gotten this issue figured out. And now it's affecting hospitality industry profitability in a big way. So that's one big topic. And going back to the financing thing that you're talking about, Craig, back when we were at the lodging conference together, we were talking about the rise in interest rates, because that's when it really first started to bubble up, right? And I asked a lot of people, you asked a lot of people, and the general consensus then was, well, a lot of these interest rate hikes were baked in already. Right. You still think that's the case now as it continues to go up and the Fed says we're not going to abate it and we may go double down on it?
I think it is to a degree to the larger players. Right. We're still seeing phenomenal assets being traded. We've got hotels in your backyard in Manhattan.
Yeah, as we're recording this, Ace Hotels was just sold yesterday.
Right. So, we've got the M&A scenario. We've got single one-off, trophy assets. We've got some stuff coming in San Francisco that's going to be announced soon. I think right now, your publicly held companies, because cost of funds to them seems to be a lot cheaper than anybody else, especially if they, had a stock offering. I think you're still going to see these deals go through. Now, your small to mid cap companies, mom and pops in particular, they may not be able to grow their portfolio as quickly as they would like to because of their cost of funds at some of the community banks and whatever credit unions are still doing commercial, real estate loans as well. So I think it's going to be an interesting scenario. I think with a little bit of luck, I think some of this older product that should have come out of the system decades ago, hopefully that's going to go. Whether that's going to be converted to homeless shelters or some sort of a low-end apartment complex, or it's going to be scraped and that site's going to be repurposed. And I think you're going to find some tax credits in the municipal sectors to help you with those projects. It seems to me we're having a lot of projects greenlit in the city of Los Angeles right now. And we've got that money coming in from the feds on, rebuilding our infrastructure. And there's a lot to that. If you look at EV cars, let's say, the brand standards are now you have to have an electrical hookup for recharging EV vehicles. Well, GM Chevrolet division announced their new E-Ray, which is the electric Corvette. And they are in the process of putting in charging stations nearby each and every one of their dealers across the nation. And 90% of the American public lives within 10 minutes of a Chevy dealership.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. So, that's going to be something really phenomenal. It's going to be a boost.
Speaking of the electric cars and stuff, though, there's one state that is looking, I'm totally blanking on which one it is. Y'all could probably guess, but they want to ban electric cars by 2030 completely. really focusing on where America's headed,
Yeah, it's funny. But we've still got questionable supply problems for these renovations and new hotels up until, and I haven't driven by lately, but prior to Thanksgiving, we still had container ships offshore from Long Beach down to Orange County.
I thought that was all handled because it wasn't in the news anymore, but
exactly, it's just not in the news anymore. And there was a reported breakout of COVID in China. Now, if they start shutting down factories again,
I don't think they will at this point.
Yeah, they might not, but I got to tell you, I'm getting a lot of calls from furniture manufacturers that are either making furniture in the United States, Canada, or Mexico.
Excellent. I'm seeing the Mexico thing has been really fantastic. And of course, all of that goes back to the Clinton era when the NAFTA treaty was signed that opened up the ability to make it easier for goods to go back and forth between those three companies. Now, the political headwinds, particularly on the Republican side, are trying to change that stuff now. But for good flow of commerce and to keep, American businesses and work here domestically, or at least North America, is probably a pretty good idea for the hotel industry to get behind supporting more jobs here in North America instead of depending on China, which I think the problems are only going to get exacerbated politically in the next 10 years.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, Glenn.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to look at, bringing back manufacturing, and we are to a limited degree. But again, your children and mine are not going to work in a factory.
No.
Okay. So, we're going to continue to have this employment issue, even though we are at historic lows at unemployment. I think
we are.
We were at like 3.5.
I think there's like 4 people out of work right now.
Yeah. The Great Resignation, how much did that materialize? I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of people, from what I understand back then, again, sorry, anecdotally, I don't have the exact numbers, but most jobs that are, most people that are no longer employed left the workforce entirely. A lot of folks retired, and those have been that's what's been happening with pilots. They all retired. Truckers, they all retired. So it's really a generational shift that's occurring right now, where older workers are saying, thank you very much, I'm out. So they're no longer counted in those labor statistics numbers. So when you look at numbers, there's just a general rule in life, right, Craig, that you kind of have to understand what's really behind the numbers. So it's 3.6 or whatever it is %, but there's a lot more people not working, mostly by choice at this point.
Exactly. And you've got to replenish that well. You know, it's you've got to get out there. Career days at whether it's a high school level or a community college. When I was growing up, that was a big thing. It wasn't job fairs, it was career days on the campus, and internships. And at that point in time, they were unpaid. Now they're paid. It's a great way to test yourself and the industry that you're interested in to see if that's something you want to do. There's just so much going on and all converging at once.
It is. And the other thing that's converging, and it's so weird that we're talking a lot about this stuff instead of pure hotel industry stuff, but it all goes back to it at the end of the day, because starting when I was in high school in the 1980s, and we've talked about this before, there was a definitive shift in how we perceive graduating people. And it became all like, you must go to college or else you're a worthless human being. And we did that for a lot of decades. And generations, now 2 or 3 generations of kids have gone through feeling like they're not as good as, because they're amazing with doing things with their hands, or they weren't book smart. So now we're suffering by not having great manufacturing, not having great labor to work in the hospitality industry and other places as well, because we demonized those particular tracks. And it's not going to be an overnight thing to turn it around and suddenly get millions of people to want to come into our incredible business.
Well, absolutely. It's, we've got lost generations out there.
Right.
And, it's going to take time to recover from that. And, I look at, our travel partners as well as another barometer for hospitality, the airlines in particular. We need them. They need us.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations to Delta being named #1 airline. So good for
your
them.
favorite. Yes.
Yep.
But, I kind of look at it, and I sent you an article this morning, the pilots union over at Southwest is looking at a strike vote.
And remember, we're recording this on Thursday, January 19th, in case someone striked or did a strike or anything like that.
No, it's post later. So, but the interesting thing is, okay, the FAA, the union, and the airline all know when pilots are termed out by age. And all 3 were asleep at the wheel. Yeah. All 3 put the American or international traveling public at risk. So, we've got to do a better job of planning for the future. And I think, you look at some of the owner operators, they're really good at looking at the peripherals in the communities that they're in. What's our demand generator? What is their work, staff looking like? Are they constantly replacing people? Are they, we've got 2 factories and one of them's going under. What's happening there? We can't have a situation where we had this international courier system buy an airport in the Rust Belt and completely decimate a community because they pulled out. We've got to be smarter about that. And I think hospitality is one of those sectors that's definitely smarter about it. When we're hitting on all 8 cylinders, we're celebrating the community that our hotels are in. We're bringing in locals to work there. We've got a local flavor. We're that second or third or possibly 4th bedroom for a family during the holidays and vacations. We employ so many people generally, and we account for a tremendous amount of peripheral jobs, not just construction, but everything throughout the community.
Right.
And, we are an economic engine. You look at California, our Visit California people are just absolutely outstanding. At one point in time, for every dollar they spent in advertising California, they would get $1.25 or $1.50 back.
Right.
Okay. So, somebody's doing something right. And I think, I'm hoping that at ALIS and again at Click as well, that we're going to be talking about how can we promote our industry? How can we make things better?
Right.
You're hosting or moderating, I should say, our hotel refuel, up your F&B game. Incredibly average to decent food is not acceptable anymore. It just isn't. Okay. Everybody wants an experience. Everybody wants something delicious to eat. You've got some tremendous people on that panel that get that, and they understand the nuances, and they're there to share that knowledge with the rest of the hotel community in California at Click. And I think, that's going to be part of the conversation at ALIS as well.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to that. And I think the information we glean from ALIS is really going to be able to inform us on all the important things that we need to be talking about while we're at the California Lodging Investment Conference. And again, you could register at cliconference.com, cliconference.com. And, you don't have to tell Craig I sent you there, but, you can.
Oh, please do. Please do. I'll buy you a cocktail, and so will I.
Yes, I will definitely buy you a cocktail during the hours of the open bar. So I'm totally behind you on that one. Because they want to do more is than make you pick up the tab. So that'll make me happy. One of the good things about going to conferences like ALIS and your conference, which is super intimate and everybody's in the same room throughout the whole day, it's really great opportunity to mix it up with people. While ALIS, I find that hanging out in the courtyard behind the JW Marriott is where all the action is really happening. So if you guys are going there, weather's usually beautiful. We usually hang out there. You can have I think you can have a lot more meaningful bump-ins there than you can actually going through the conference facility. So it's a little ALIS tip for everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, you're completely right about that. I schedule just a few meetings.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's really more about that bump in.
Yep.
Let's meet over at Starbucks. Let's meet in the lobby or down the corridor, whatever it may be. And as you're walking around, there's always somebody that you know. And ALIS kicks it off for the year, and it's also about re-engagement with all of your clients and coworkers throughout the industry. And this is a great time to catch up with people, find out what's going on. And the thing that I like about ALIS, as I do lodging and with Click, is you've basically got everybody in the same location. So if you're working on a deal, you can sit everybody down and make sure that any issues are hammered out, or if you want to, talk to somebody, from a certain brand about developing one of their hotels, you've got that opportunity to do that. And that's where that human, that hospitality flair that we have really pays off, because now you've had that handshake, that conversation, and you've solidified that relationship.
Yeah, I love that. Again, guys, you got to come and join us over at Click Conference, cliconference.com. That's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be bothering all of you guys about that at the ALIS conference, because you're not at this one. You're missing out, because it's really what I love about it, Craig, is you're very, very focused on what you're doing. And California, as you said, was the 6th largest economy in the world. It was broken away from the rest of the United States, which really makes it super important. And it's so vibrant with so many different markets. It's like the stuff that you could learn is just endless.
Absolutely. And that was one of the hallmarks when we started the conference. And I thank you, Glenn, for being there from the beginning. Glenn's been a tremendous help with the conference. And if you can hire him for one of your conferences, you should.
Thanks for that plug.
But we put everybody into one room for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're doing breakout sessions,
Right.
you've always got at least 2, but usually 3 that you want to go to. So you're going to miss, part of what you came for. So we put everything on the main stage. You get your real estate, you come in, you sit down at a table, you're going to be fed there. You're going to be there all day. We've got the exhibitors around the perimeter of the room. Everybody is there. So if you miss something, it's because you stepped out of the room.
Right.
Okay. It was, I didn't want people feeling that they missed something because there were too many things booked all at the same time.
And the best part is that it's the right environment to foster those meaningful bumps in. And that's the fun thing about going to these conferences in general, is you never know who you're going to see. But by having it all in one place, the odds of you meeting the people that you need to meet in an organic way is super increased.
Exactly. It's, let's take our brand sponsors at Click. Okay. We've got 9 brands. You've got their development teams in California at the California Lodging Investment Conference. These are the boots on the ground, the ones that you want to talk to. The lenders that are there are the ones that you want to talk to because they are doing loans. You may know them, you may not know them. We've got third-party professionals. We've got one of the best insurance companies globally for hospitality, not just for the slip and fall and the public liability, but also, for your employee benefits. So, and we all know that every dollar counts. So, we've got to constantly look.
Tell my wife, but
oh, wait a minute.
Sorry, Helene.
But you're constantly reevaluating things, whether it's your real estate taxes, your insurance. You've got, let's say, 12 months left on your loan before you have to do a refinance. You're already looking. You're looking at what the interest rates are. You're looking at where they may be going. You're looking to establish that relationship with another bank that may have better terms. Right. And you can get out of that loan now without any prepayment penalties. So, cost of labor definitely gone up. So we've got to look at all that. And, we've also got, if you're not doing energy audits, and I think that's going to be a topic as well, you should be. You need to know what your water consumption is, how you can cut it. You need to look at the electrical. It's not just about, LED lights. It goes way beyond all that. And, tech's going to be a big part of the way we move forward. Just having an ironing board and an iron for somebody to make a grilled cheese sandwich in their room with, and a television is not going to do it anymore. So
no, that is absolutely true. I can't tell you how many nights I've made grilled cheeses in my my room with the ironing board. Oh wait, I can't tell you. It'd be 0.
It's just like our friend at Jessica Janis over at Corning. Okay. The best way to go right now, if you're renovating or building, is fiber optics, and you can take fiber right to the room. And she's heard stories, and I'm hearing stories now where I've got guests leaving hotels that they typically stayed at,
right?
Because now there are so many Zoom meetings and so many video conference calls that they are now moving to hotels that have fiber to the room, so that you don't have that glitchy screen and miss
what
the conversation. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, as a host, and I don't know if you have the same issue when you're hosting Click Connect, but whenever somebody freezes up for that 2 seconds, it freaks me out, and like I can't handle a 1/10 of a second of nobody talking, let alone 2 seconds of someone being frozen. Well, you can hear their voice. I'm like, are they going to fade away forever? Are they going to come back? I don't know what's going to happen. Way too stressful.
Well, and the other thing is, you're tempted to use that as the thumbnail for the show. You go, should I? But now, really excited about ALIS. Really excited about Click as well. There's just so much out there to learn. and to bring back to
Mhm.
your teams and your corporate offices and your remote workers as well.
Right.
It's a good time to be in the hotel industry. It's a good time to start thinking about how you are going to not only prepare your teams but your assets for the future as well.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to ALIS, and obviously very much so with
Yep.
Click on March 1st and 2nd.
I'm definitely looking forward to ALIS. It's my warm weather break from this winter that we have going on here. Although I can't really complain. It's been in like the 40s and 50s for most of this winter here. Who says there's global warming? I'm not saying it. But I remember back in the 70s, we had snow in New York. Now we're lucky if we ever get any snow over here. So I'm looking forward to going to LA, not just for ALIS, but most importantly for the California Lodging Investment Conference. You could get a ticket right now at CLIconference.com. CLIconference.com. And don't let the fact that you'll have to hang out with Craig and myself deter you from going to the event. Any final words?
Join us. It's going to be informative. We've opened up what used to be our VIP mixer to all registered attendees.
Mm-hmm.
It's being brought to you by our hotel brand sponsors, and all the speakers, sponsors, and exhibitors will be there as well. We've got a packed day of information. You can get that all on our website and register there as well.
Yep.
And then we've got our after party. Glenn and I will be doing a Friday night audit live while Glenn is doing no vacancy live during the day. And we've also got our friends from Hospitality MD doing a show after us as well. But you've got the time to meet, greet, network. This conference's hallmark is, personal development.
Yep.
And networking. And we're the only ones focused exclusively on the California hotel market. Our trade associations are there. It's a great event. And
excellent.
Looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week and then in March again. And I might get to see you in April as well. But we'll find out about that just in due time. All right, buddy. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to leave you on this screen, Craig, while we do this wrap up, since we have a show together. Be sure to download No Vacancy Live. Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get your shows. We have the shows, and of course, you can do the video here on LinkedIn, Facebook, NoVacancyNews.com, and of course, YouTube. And don't forget, Friday Night Audit is also on both of those feeds out there. 5 p.m. Fridays, 2 p.m. Pacific. Craig, how do we see Click Connect?
You can see Click Connect on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Our YouTube channel is California Lodging Investment Conference. If you run my name on LinkedIn and California Lodging Investment Conference, you can find it there. You can also find it on Facebook under Click for Hotels. Twitter as well. And, our Friday night audit guest this week is Miss Candace Lee Router.
Is that Friday the 20th or the week after? Because this is airing on the 22nd.
It's the Friday before. You're right. Never mind.
Yep. But we can have a great guest on that particular show. We're just not telling you who it is. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Remember,
thank you, Glenn.
And remember, you got one life, so blaze on. And as Anthony says, be kind to yourself. See y'all later.